Kweisi Mfume of Maryland. I want to thank our chair, our caucus leader, our whip, all the members of this distinguished caucus that are with me and around me to just underscore and perhaps put in historical context why this means so much to all of us. 34 years ago, in this building, a young John Lewis stood with me as we went to a press conference, unknowing what we were going to deal with. And one of the questions that came up was, well, what is the priority of the Congressional Black Caucus? And John and I, because we had a way of just linking arms, stood at the podium and almost in unison said, it is the right to vote and to have every vote counted and the protection of those rights. He never wavered, never, ever wavered. And so when there was an opportunity for me to leave the Congress and to give up what a lot of people think are the trappings of power, John and his late wife Lillian and I sat down together and said, you know, you really are going to have to accept this offer from the NAACP. You're going to have to leave the Congress and you're going to have to go out into the hinterland and do on the outside what both of us and so many others have been trying to do on the inside. And so I left to head up the NAACP for almost 10 years and to work in every state in this nation on the notion of a very basic concept that he held up to his death that was near and dear to his life, the right of people to cast an unfettered ballot with every expectation that that would be counted. And so it was irony for me to come back after being away for 24 years and to see John in the state he was in when I got back. And he called and he said, well, my friend, you've come back in from the cold. But the fight, that fight that we talked about in 1987 is still very much alive. So when the chairwoman talks about the visceral meaning of this to all of us, or the gentlewoman from Delaware or anyone else, it is not contrived. It is what we believe. It is what we feel. It is in our DNA. It is what we are compassionately committed to, no matter what. Trust me, John Lewis is in this room now. His spirit, 34 years later, still resonates in this building. And the tragedy is that we are now fighting the same fight that many of us thought was behind us. The Senate of the United States will be forced, and I hate to even say that, but they're being forced to take a vote on this. It's convenient if the vote never comes up, but it will come up. And everyone will be judged by history on how they stood, on how they acted, on how they voted when the rights of Americans all across this country to vote and to have those votes counted would in fact come before them. I urge everyone in the Senate to think about the things that have preceded you and all of us, to think about this nation, to think about the history of segregation and Jim Crow, the history of exclusion, so that when you cast that vote in the Senate, you are casting it to do away with those things, not to reaffirm them. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Our power, our message. This ends our press conference.